One of the sectors of economy that we looked at when we covered that topic was the private sector of the economy, where businesses are owned by private individuals in pursuit of making a profit. What we're going to zone in on in this video is the different types of business that exist within the private sector. As you can see, we have three to look at here: the sole traders, partnerships, and private limited companies. The first type of business is a sole trader. Now, it's really important that we look at these types of business in terms of who owns these businesses, who gets to control them and make all the decisions, and what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of each of these types of business. So for a sole trader, the clue is in the name. It's owned by one person. So one person gets to make all the decisions and they have sole ownership of that business. Now, there's obviously some advantages to this. You get autonomy. You get to make all the decisions as a sole trader about exactly how that business is going to operate, because there's nobody to argue with. There's no other owners who have a say in those big decisions. Also, you get to keep all the profits because there's no partners to share them with. So if the business is very successful and profitable, you as the sole trader would get to keep all of those profits. However, at the same time, because there's no partners to share any responsibility with, the sole trader themselves has the responsibility of making all of those big decisions. And we have something in a sole trader called unlimited liability. And all that means is that in the eyes of the business, the people that own the business and the business itself are the same thing. So that means if the business, for example, takes out a loan and is unable to repay it, then that bank can go and pursue that person's personal assets, such as their house and their car, any other assets they might have, in order to pay off the debts. So that's obviously a bit of a risk. You've got that unlimited liability that puts your personal assets at risk as the owner of the business if you decide to operate as a sole trader. Moving on to look at a partnership. Now, we might think of a partnership as only two people, but actually it's between 2 and 20 private individuals that are owners of a partnership. And it's controlled, and all those big decisions are made by the partners themselves. So by the partners who own the business, they get to make all the big decisions about how that business operates. Some advantages to this is that you obviously get the skills of all the partners. So whilst one partner may have a strength in marketing and a weakness in finance, well, fortunately, we have another partner who's a financial expert. And so we get to bring all these different skills together from our different partners to make a more successful business overall. And secondly, we have that shared responsibility. So if one partner wants to go on holiday for 2 weeks, it's fine. We have other partners who can step up and do a little bit more for those 2 weeks to make sure the business runs smoothly. Some disadvantages of a partnership, though: as much as we get to bring different skills and share the responsibility, we also have to share the profits. So we don't get to keep them all for ourselves anymore like we did as a sole trader. Instead, each partner will get their share of the profits. However, a partnership still has unlimited liability, which means that if the business is unsuccessful and has loans it has to repay, they can then come after the partner's personal assets to pay them off. The last type of business is a private limited company. Now, this is owned by shareholders, but it's really important that we say the word selected. Not anybody can go look at a stock exchange website and invest in this business. Instead, shareholders have to be invited to invest in this business. So that means that they're owned by selected shareholders. Big decisions are made by the board of directors, and this board of directors is chosen by the shareholders. So that's who makes the big controlling decisions, is the board of directors, who are chosen by the selected shareholders. Some advantages of this type of business is that we still get all the skills of all the shareholders who decide to invest in the business. Because a private limited company tends to be a little bit smaller, chances are those shareholders will still be involved. They might be business partners, they might be friends, they might be family members. So you still get those skills contributing to the business, bringing their own ideas in, bringing their own expertise. Another pro is we now have limited liability. So now we went through a little bit of effort to create a private limited company, but now the business and the people that own the business, the shareholders, are seen separately in the eyes of the law. So even if the business owes hundreds of £1,000s in loans to the bank, they can't come after the shareholders' houses or cars or personal assets in order to repay those loans. So it's a little bit less risky if you're a shareholder. However, the con of that is that it's expensive to set up. You have to file with Companies House and file and register your company with the government, all of which may require costs in terms of lawyers and accountants to set that up. So it's a big startup cost. Another con is that you then have to prepare your financial documents every year. So you, as a private limited company, have the legal obligation to produce your financial documents each year for the public to view. Again, that will have the cost of hiring professional accountants, which can be quite expensive. And so obviously, as much as you get that protection of limited liability, which is a good thing, you have that disadvantage of having the expense of being a private limited company. Three main types of business we look at in the private sector: Sole trader, partnerships, and private limited company. We want to focus on them in terms of ownership, in terms of control, and we need 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages.